There are two main reasons I do these must start and sit running back videos at the end of every week. Number one is we get plenty of time to reevaluate rankings based on news and injury updates that we get throughout the week. And number two is it gives you an opportunity to see who else I think is flexible and playable that did not make the initial top 30 running back rankings list earlier in the week. So we're going through every matchup today, finding out who the must start and sit running backs are in each matchup. And I'm one of the only fantasy football YouTubers working on a Saturday, so please go down there and drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel to show your support. So this first matchup right here, the Carolina Panthers at the New Orleans Saints, I think is going to be Alvin Kamara, Chuba Hubbard. You play those guys all day, and you don't really think about playing the other running backs here. Alvin Kamara is going to be a PPR guy for most of the season, basically in every week, because I have described it. I think he's on a sinking ship offense that is going to be really bad with Derek Carr at quarterback. But the good thing with Alvin Kamara is he's going to benefit from dump-offs. Alvin Kamara, if there's one thing he could still do based on last year, is still catch the ball at a very good clip. So Kamara is a must-start guy. Chuba Hubbard, I think, is must-start too, because I trust Dave Canales with a running back. And with Chuba Hubbard, he strikingly fits my unexpected league-winning running backs criteria that I did earlier in the offseason. You could go watch that video if you want to see how bullish I am on Chuba Hubbard, actually, and why I think he's a must-start against a defense that's not weak against the Saints. But I think Chuba Hubbard's the guy. And then you obviously sit Miles Sanders. He's not going to be involved this week. And Jamal Williams, I think, is just kind of washed up, so you don't play him either. Now, dropping down to the next matchup here. The Minnesota Vikings go to the New York Giants to take on the Giants, and there's really nobody I consider must-start. I just don't think any of these guys are must-start worthy. Devin Singletary is my favorite of the bunch. And the reason why is because Devin Singletary should monopolize his backfield at least to start the season. I keep Tyrone Tracy Jr. in your mind somewhere. I would store that file away in your head, so to speak, because I do think he has potential throughout the season to be more involved as a pass catcher. But with the start of the season, with Tyrone Tracy's injury to begin the season, I think Devin Singletary is a good flex option this week. And then Aaron Jones and Ty Chandler, I think they're both flexible. I'm not wild on either, though. I think Aaron Jones is fine. I think he's going to be used infrequently. I don't think he's going to monopolize the backfield. I think Ty Chandler will be involved, and I ultimately just don't know how much upside a running back has in an offense with a bad quarterback and with a team that really doesn't like to run the ball that much. Both years with Kevin O'Connell as their head coach, they've been pass first, so I think he's just kind of wired like that. And Aaron Jones, I think, benefits the most just based on being a good pass-catching back, but Ty Chandler will get carries in this game, which makes me ultimately not want either one of those guys as must starts, but thinking both of these guys are decent flex options. So like I said, you sit Tyrone Tracy Jr. this week because he's just coming off an injury and we don't know what his role is going to be like just yet. Now, dropping down to the next matchup, I've got the New England Patriots going to Cincinnati to take on the Bengals this week. With Zach Moss, he's the guy that I like the most in this matchup because I think the Bengals are going to win, and I do think that if I had to choose one of the Bengals running backs on a weekly basis, it's going to be based on game script. I think that Chase Brown benefits from a pass-heavy game script. I think he's the better pass-catching running back at this point in his career, and so I think he'll get carries still, but I think he'll be more of a pass-catching running back. Whereas with Zach Moss, I think he'll handle the carries for the majority of the season. So in this week against the Patriots, I just trust Zach Moss more in this backfield, and I do want a running back for the Cincinnati Bengals because they do have a high upside offense, especially against the Patriots this week. And then with Ramondre Stevenson, I think he's flexible, but this offense just sucks. Like, it's just the reality. I don't care if he handles 20 opportunities. I don't care. There is such a thing and a difference between quality volume and not good volume. Ramondre Stevenson does not have quality volume. He has not good volume. So, Ramondre Stevenson, I just don't trust him this week. Ultimately, I think he's going to get volume, but I really don't think he's a must-start guy. I think he's flexible just based on volume. Chase Brown is flexible too, just because I don't know what this running back room is going to look like just yet. My prediction, like I said, is that Chase Brown is more the pass-catching back, whereas Zach Moss is more the dominant carry back. So Chase Brown, I think, is ultimately flexible for that reason, but I don't necessarily love the idea of playing Chase Brown in this particular matchup. And you said Antonio Gibson, he's injured right now, and just I don't trust his role in a bad offense. The Pittsburgh Steelers are at the Atlanta Falcons this week, And Bijan Robinson, you play him. Draft capital says so, and I'm going to be really curious to watch what the workload is going to be like. We've all heard the rumors Tyler Algier is going to be playing. So it's everybody's worst nightmare who drafts Bijan Robinson. I'm ultimately going to tell you guys to play Bijan Robinson 9 out of 10 times. Najee Harris and Jalen Warren, flexible guys. They're flexible guys. Again, it's similar to Ramondre. They're on a bad offense, and the worst part is neither of these guys are going to monopolize the backfield. That's the bad part. Jalen Warren's healthy. Najee Harris is the guy I prefer because I think he'll ultimately lead the team in carries this year. But man, neither of these guys are going to be in starter territory for much of the season if they ever are. And I don't think I trust them this week against the Atlanta Falcons, which is an improved defense this year. Tyler Algier, I'm sitting him until further notice. Like, unless we see real reason to put him on the field, don't play him in your starting lineup. The Houston Texans at the Indianapolis Colts. Good division matchup this week where you play both running backs. I'm not wild on Joe Mixon. You guys know that if you've been watching my channel. I don't think Joe Mixon is going to have that great of a year. But that being said, on a high upside offense and the draft capital you spent on him, you don't sit Joe Mixon this week, especially since he's going to monopolize the backfield. And with Jonathan Taylor, you obviously don't sit him either. High upside guy, high draft pick. You don't sit Jonathan Taylor because there's a good chance like he leads the offense. Like I have said this publicly, I'm concerned about Anthony Richardson. I may look like the village idiot when we come back on Monday and you see me talking on my live stream, but Anthony Richardson scares me, which ultimately makes me like Jonathan Taylor more because he's a rushing quarterback, which will open up more efficiency and more holes on the defense. And Jonathan Taylor, I do think will be the focal point of the offense, which is why I like him every week. And then you sit Dameon Pierce, you sit Cam Akers. Neither one of these Texans running backs you should be thinking about right now. The Arizona Cardinals at the Buffalo Bills this week. Both of these starting running backs monopolize their backfield. James Cook, James Conner, no question you start both of them. James Conner, there's been concern, and I'm a Trey Benson guy. I like Trey Benson, their backup rookie running back, but the reality is like every metric, every report indicates James Conner is the guy. James Conner was good last year. He was efficient last year, and he's coming into an offense with a rushing quarterback who's healthy to start the season. I think he's got good upside right away. And James Cook, I think, is going to be really good. Another year with Joe Brady, a full year now with Joe Brady. When he took over the play calls last year, was a very, very good asset for James Cook in particular. So I'm playing both these running backs. I love them both this week. This is a good upside matchup that has a really high over-under line, and that's why I believe this is ultimately going to be a points-friendly offense for both of these teams this week. And then you go ahead and you sit Ray Davis, you sit Trey Benson. There's no reason to play either one of those guys when both these guys are going to monopolize the backfield right away. Jacksonville Jaguars at the Miami Dolphins. A great matchup for fantasy football. I can't wait to watch this matchup just based on entertainment value. And as a fantasy football manager, I just want in on this matchup. Devon Achane, Travis Etienne, Raheem Mostert, play them all. Fire them all up. They're going to be high upside. They may not all work. I have a hard time believing they won't, though. Like, I just see so much, especially with Achane over Mostert this week. Pass catching upside is going to be there for Achane. It's going to be there. Count on it, guarantee it. And if he gets the workload, the upside is spectacular with Devon Achane. Travis Etienne is definitely going to lead the backfield in Jacksonville, and that's why he's going to be the must-start guy in a matchup that is a high upside matchup. And ultimately, I am a little bit indifferent on all their wide receivers. So I think there's a decent chance Travis Etienne has like 4 or 5 catches in this game and has a lot of receiving upside. Raheem Mostert, you can play him. 100% you can play him. This dude is going to get carries, especially at the goal line as well. So Raheem Mostert, absolutely you do not sit him in this type of matchup. Don't play Tank Bigsby and don't play Jalen Wright. The only reason I bring him up is because Tank Bigsby's a good handcuff this year. And with Jalen Wright, I do think you need to keep your eye on him. Don't play him anytime soon. You need one of these running backs to go down, but neither one of Devon Achane or Raheem Mostert are the healthiest guys. So Jalen Wright, just keep your eye on him. Denver Broncos at the Seattle Seahawks is our next matchup. Kenneth Walker's your must-start guy. I do believe he's a must-start guy this week. I'm more and more on board with the idea that he's their full-time starter by the passing day. Now, I will say that I don't love this matchup. I do not love this matchup. Denver Broncos have a strong defense. That's why the line is low this week. This is a low over-under this week because both offenses are not tremendous offenses. So I think just based on volume and based on the player that he is, Kenneth Walker is a good start. But I'm not in love with him like I probably will be in a couple other weeks, in the next coming weeks. And then with Javonte Williams, flexible, higher-end flex option, but not a guy that I'm ultimately ready to commit to yet. We don't know what the volume is going to be like right away. I can assume, just based on what I've seen in the preseason, Javonte will be the running back one, but in Seattle this week, I don't want to just roll the dice on this one when I do think there's better options available that we've went through and we will continue to go through. Jaleel McLaughlin, I would sit him, keep an eye on him. Zach Charbonnet, I would sit him, probably keep an eye on him as well. Las Vegas Raiders at the Los Angeles Chargers. This is a running back matchup I don't love. And it's like, I feel like in a couple weeks, I'll feel way more bullish on a Chargers running back in particular, because this offense is run first. The Chargers will be a run first offense. Greg Roman and Jim Harbaugh, that's a run first type of system right there. Right now, I just don't know though. Gus Edwards looks like the running back one, but J.K. Dobbins, I think, probably will be involved to a certain extent. So J.K. Dobbins is a sit for me this week because I just don't think that his role is going to be ample enough for him to be a flexible guy. Gus Edwards is the guy that I'm leaning towards right now as a higher end flex option. And Zamir White is in the same tier. I just prefer Gus because I think that his offense is better. But with Zamir White, it's actually the opposite situation where he's going to monopolize the backfield. You could play Zamir White just based on volume alone. Like, he's going to get 20 opportunities in all likelihood, 15 at the very least. So Zamir White, you can count on him being the guy who monopolizes the backfield right away. I just don't love the offense, and I do not like the matchup against the Chargers' strong defensive front. And you go ahead and you sit Alexander Mattison too, because like I said, Zamir White is monopolizing this backfield. Dallas Cowboys at the Cleveland Browns this week. Jerome Ford is the guy that I think is must start. I think that you could play him just simply based on the fact that he's going to, by all accounts, monopolize the backfield in Cleveland. And also, this Cowboys front seven is dealing with a little bit of a tester this week. The Browns not only have a great offensive line, well, the Dallas Cowboys are a little bit weaker on the front seven. Like, they've got linebacking injuries this week. So, Jerome Ford, I ultimately don't love the player, but I do like the upside with the Browns offensive line. And I do think he's a good starter option this week against the Cowboys' weaker front seven. And then with Rico Dowdle, I think is a good flex option. And I think you can flex Zeke too, because I went through it in my running back rankings video earlier in the week. I think that Rico Dowdle, based on the report I saw from an insider who's been there since the 2000s, that Rico Dowdle is going to lead this backfield. And Zeke is going to be a pass-catching guy who I do think has upside and probably will still have carries to a certain extent. So I think they're both playable. Neither one of them is separated necessarily for me yet. They're relatively in the same tier, but I do prefer Rico Dowdle over Zeke. But I ultimately do want to say this is a tough matchup against a strong Cleveland defense in Cleveland this week. But it is not tough enough for Dak Prescott to get more than half a yard, which is currently his line on Underdog right now. So that is a smash free pick to make. That is an excellent free pick to make. And if you're not on Underdog and you haven't utilized it yet, go down in the comments, use that link in the comments below, and when you use code FFN to deposit at least $10, not only will they match your first deposit 50% up to $1,000 in bonus cash, but you can also take advantage of this free Dak Prescott line that you'll be able to take advantage of. So use code FFN to sign up for Underdog today. Now, dropping down to the Washington Commanders at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think this is a matchup where you play Rachaad White with confidence. This Washington Commanders defense is not very good. By all accounts, I don't think they got better from last year. And Rachaad White, from everything we've seen, should take the monopoly still in the backfield. I'm worried a little bit about Bucky Irving's receiving upside because that is what he does. But Rachaad White, I'm not going to sit him based on that fear this week. Going to play Rachaad White in a good matchup. Brian Robinson Jr., there will be better weeks for him. I like Brian Robinson Jr. I've been kind of public about, like, my thing for Brian Robinson Jr. this year. I think he's a really good player, and I think this offense will benefit him, but this is not the week where I would say he's must start. It's similar to Javonte, where I think there's going to be better matchups ahead. I don't think the Bucs is going to be a great matchup, though. They're going to take some time for this offense to gel together a little bit, so I think Brian Robinson Jr., keep your eye on him, flex him if you want to, but he's definitely not a must-start guy this week. And you sit Austin Eckler. You sit Bucky Irving too. I've gone over the Austin Eckler thing so much. I feel like a broken record. I don't see upside with him this year. I think he's a bad pick in fantasy because I don't believe that his reception volume is going to be nearly as high as it was with the Chargers. He's got a mobile quarterback with Jaden Daniels, and there's just direct history linking mobile quarterbacks to lower volume through the reception game for running backs. Austin Eckler is not going to out-carry Brian Robinson either, so I think Austin Eckler is ultimately a little bit of a waste in fantasy this year. The Los Angeles Rams at the Detroit Lions. I think this is going to be a great matchup for fantasy. It's got a high over-under for a reason from Vegas. I think this is going to be a really good matchup for everybody involved. That's why you play your running backs. Jahmyr Gibbs, Kyren Williams, Dave Montgomery, fire them up, baby. Do not sit any of these guys. Look, Jahmyr Gibbs, the concern for him, and even with Kyren, has been, Jahmyr Gibbs has been dealing with injury, and Kyren Williams is a punt returner now. Play these guys. Draft capital says so, and they have upside in this matchup. So with Dave Montgomery, he's a guy who obviously has upside from a goal line perspective and from a carries between the 20s perspective as well. In a matchup like this, where neither defense is tremendous, I love the running backs in this matchup. You sit Blake Corum this week because we don't have any information to go off of that he's going to get any real work. I think he's a good handcuff running back, but just keep him as that for now. You don't have to play him this week because it's ultimately not going to kill you if he's on your bench, and he does well because then you can get some more information, say, Ryan, you're an idiot, and you can also play Blake Corum the next week if he ends up having a good week this week and you clearly see that he's the guy. The New York Jets at the San Francisco 49ers, our Monday night matchup. You play both stars, Christian McCaffrey, Breece Hall. Now, I will say Christian McCaffrey is nerve-wracking this week. He's obviously been out for the last several weeks, and he is dealing with an ankle/Achilles injury, and it's not new that that's the deal, but just hearing the word Achilles makes me cringe. It scares me. It scares me. You ultimately play him because he's going to be playing, and he's a great running back if he's 100%, and he's doing it. So you don't sit Christian McCaffrey just based on a fear like that. And then Breece Hall, everything lines up perfectly, except the matchup. I don't love the matchup for Breece Hall, but I think something I said on the running back rankings video this week, I do think we'll start to see Breece Hall kind of emerge as a Christian McCaffrey type of talent in this league where matchup just doesn't matter. And it doesn't matter anyways. So Breece Hall, he's a first round pick for a reason, but Breece Hall this week, even against the tough San Fran defense, definitely going to be a must-start guy. And you sit both the handcuffs. Jordan Mason, I would sit him this week. Just don't think that he'll be getting real work with Christian McCaffrey there. And then Braylon Allen, I think is a good handcuff back to Breece this year, but I would sit him just because Breece is going to monopolize the backfield. So let me know how your lineup is looking this week. And if you want to see the top 30 running back rankings to see where all these guys ended up, click on this video right here.